Welcome to The Explainer. So, what happens when you reach the absolute tippy top of success by the age of 24? For Louis Tomlinson, one-fifth of the biggest band in the world, the view wasn't exactly what he thought it'd be. This is the story of the real cost of that summit, and how he had to find a completely new way to measure his life after that rocket ship finally landed. Now let's start with a quote you just would not expect to hear from a global superstar. A feeling of failure. This one statement, it really sits at the very heart of his story, and it shows you the true cost of getting to the top. To really understand his journey, we have to go all the way back to his working class roots in Doncaster, where his mom instilled in him this unshakable belief that he could do literally anything. His path to stardom wasn't a straight line at all. It was more like a gauntlet. After what he called an utterly crushing first rejection, and then another one a year later, most people would have just given up, right? But that persistence, trying again for a third time, that's what set everything in motion. He actually described this moment not as, the end of some lifelong dream, but more like he was a happy-go-lucky guy who won the lottery. He wasn't the kid who spent his whole life training to be a singer. He was really just giving it a shot. And get this, their very first single had a record-breaking number of pre-orders before a single person had even heard the song. That was the moment they realized the power was with them. It wasn't just about the music. Fans were invested in them as people. The rocket ship had officially launched. But that rocket ship ride, it came at a pretty steep price. Reaching the summit meant this profound sense of isolation and losing the one thing he craved more than anything, just normality. His former bandmate Liam Payne summed up their entire reality with that stark phrase. It was just a cycle: perform for massive crowds, get rushed into a car, and then be confined to a hotel room. That was it. And this, right here, this was the central conflict of his life. He was living a dream that millions and millions of people would do anything for, but all he really wanted was the simple, normal feeling of being on an even playing field with the friends he grew up with. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, he was battling some serious imposter syndrome. He felt like he was always playing catch-up, and he was constantly questioning his place in the world's biggest group, especially because he didn't feel like he was the strongest singer. But what happens when the fastest ride in music screeches to a halt? Well, for him, the end of One Direction created this deep, profound identity crisis. This was the question a producer asked him at an award show. And that one simple question just perfectly captured the dizzying uncertainty of his future. He had absolutely no idea what was supposed to come next. And that led to this, just a brutal realization. At only 24 years old, an age when most people's careers are just getting started, he felt like he had already peaked. There was literally no way to go any higher. The contrast was just jarring. Singing the One Direction hit Night Changes to a stadium of 80,000 people, that's one thing. But singing those exact same words, everything that you've ever dreamed of disappearing when you wake up, to a small room, was a constant gut punch of a reminder of just how fast his own night had changed. So just as he's trying to navigate this completely new reality, his entire world was shattered by a series of unimaginable tragedies that would completely reshape his life. In 2016, his mother passed away from leukemia, and just a few days later, he fulfilled her dying wish by performing on the X Factor stage, the very same stage where it all began. He calls it, to this day, the most challenging 3.5 minutes of his life. His mother's final words gave him a brand new, vital purpose. In all that grief, his role suddenly shifted. He was now the protector, the provider for his younger siblings. This second tragedy was a devastating blow. It didn't just add more grief. It completely undermined the very hope and security he was desperately trying to build for his family. And this was his deepest feeling. As the family's self-appointed protector, he felt like he had failed in his most important role. He felt like he broke the one promise he had made to his mother.
But after surviving the unthinkable, these experiences forged a whole new kind of strength, and they forced him to find a healthier, more meaningful way to measure his life.
So he began this really conscious effort to redefine what success even means. He started moving away from all that external validation that came with One Direction and toward a more internal, personal sense of achievement. This is pretty much how he rebuilt his entire framework for what matters. His purpose? It shifted from fame to family. And surviving all that darkness gave him this profound, if kind of strange, sense of confidence. He realized, hey, if I can get through that, I can get through anything. This is how he describes his mindset now, a clarity that was really hard-won after years of navigating chaos, fame, and grief. That old imposter syndrome is fading away, and it's being replaced by this quiet confidence in who he actually is. Well, for Louis Tomlinson, it looks like finally finding your footing on solid ground. It's realizing the real summit was never about the view from the top, but about the people you climb for.